I'm going to begin this discussion by giving you an absolutely outrageously fantastical story, and then I'm going to easily prove to you that it's true. Imagine if you were in a field one day, sort of having a picnic. You've brought a blanket with you. You put the blanket out. You ate a few sandwiches, and maybe had a glass of wine. Not only just one glass of wine, but you had a compass with you, okay? And you decide to go for a walk, and you decide that you're going to go in a perfectly straight line, all right? So you go for a walk in a perfectly straight line. You're walking away from your blanket. You look behind you, there's your blanket, and you walk in a straight line. Now you're walking for a long, long time in a straight line. And then all of a sudden, so you walk through, let's see, you walk through the meadow, then there's a forest with the trails, you walk through that, then it opens up into a parking lot, so you walk through that, and then it opens up into, say, another kind of a trail, but it's a boardwalk trail. And then that ends, and that seems to, you're still walking in a perfectly straight line. And then you see the beginning of a grassy area, and all of a sudden you're looking down at your blanket. You're right back where you started. Now, wouldn't that be, when you wake up, if you had a dream, that would, you go, whoa. But guess what? Guess what? Let me ask you this. How do you know that the world is round? I mean, we don't really know. With our five senses, we don't know. I mean, we can't feel that. Or, you know, generally we say this because we know that science has proven it and everybody says it. And it's generally known. I mean, if you were to get on the internet and do your research or take physics classes, you would realize, yeah, that makes sense. But for the studies and what's on the internet and what's commonly accepted, the only way that you could really prove that to yourself is if you did exactly what I just told you. If you walked in a perfectly straight line and kept walking in a perfectly straight line without veering off with your compass, you would come right back to your blanket, to where you started. Now, of course, you couldn't really do that because of the oceans, but you get the idea. Our five senses are very limited. And because our five senses only operate at certain energies, at certain waves, at certain wavelengths, all of them operate at less than the speed of light. Now, I'll get into that in a moment. But our five senses are only able to detect energy in certain forms, in limited forms. And this has confined or limited our understanding of thought, of human consciousness, of where it comes from, and what else, makes up consciousness, what else makes it up. Now, what I'm about to discuss with you is not my material, it's not my information. It's based on actual science, and I have reference material for anyone who wants the reference material. These studies are as recent as 2021 and forward. So I'm not going to mention the studies. It's just that if anyone would like to have the reference material, I will provide it to you. So this is not based on my ideas or hocus pocus. It's based purely on science. So that's the ironic thing. I am not here the purpose of this discussion is not to push any hocus pocus or airy fairy theories on you. It's science. So let's just get started. Let's get started. The other night I mentioned on one of the live shows, when we were discussing, I was trying to explain to some of the, I'm going to call you guys friends because you guys are amazing. why I need reference points. And Pam, the managing moderator and the engine of the channel, we had a meeting the other night, and we were trying to come up with a way of helping the people who are asking questions to help us, helping me, a way for you guys to help me to get the information that you want. And it has to do with how you phrase your question and the information that I need. And that relates, I believe, to this discussion here. So on the live the other night, one of the things that I was trying to explain is what we're going to talk about in this discussion here is the energy of thought, all right? And why I need reference points when I'm doing the readings, and how it is that you can pick up on somebody else's energy. A lot of you, before you're reading in your email to me or in your instructions to me, you'll say, I don't know why, but I've been thinking of this person from 2 years ago. I haven't spoken to this person in 2 years or 4 years or whatever, but I just feel this person coming in. And lo and behold, when I look at the cards, that person is thinking of you as well. I'm going to try to explain to you why that's happening, why it's actually happening. First of all, let's just get beyond around step one, and that is to establish the following. So here is an example. I was speaking to a musician once, and I was asking her when she composed a certain piece that she had written for the piano, where she was and when she was. And I expected her to say that she was at her piano, but she wasn't. She was lying in her bed with no musical instrument near her. And she composed the song in her head. Now we say in your head as if it's a location. Well, let's just assume that's correct for a moment. So she's lying in bed. She composes the music in her head. All right. Now, just to show you that that's possible, I'm gonna be quiet for about 10 seconds, and I want in your mind to sing yourself happy birthday in your mind right now. Don't hum it out loud. Sing it in your mind. Go for it. So now you will agree with me that you were not humming, you were not making a noise, there was no sound, there was no light. If someone else were in the room and let's say a low vibrational person were next to you, and I'm saying that, and you'll understand why later, there's no way that a low vibrational person could hear or detect what was going on in your head, right? Right. Now, in your head, I want you to do it again, but imagine a choir, so a bunch of people. If it isn't a choir, just imagine a room, a bar full of people, drunk people, singing happy birthday, okay? Go for it. Okay, now, so you know that you heard that. You know that was, if I were to tell you, no, you didn't. You're lying. There was nothing going through your head then. You would know that was a lie, that you were being falsely accused there. So the next question is, now can you understand where the composer that I was speaking to, she told me that she came up with the piece of music while she was lying in her bed. The next day, she reduced it to a musical score in writing. So my question to you is, where was that composition between the time that she was lying in her bed and the time that she went to her table to write it down in the form of a musical score? Where was it? Where was it? So some of you will say, well, it was in her brain, in the interconnected connections in her brain. Okay. Yes, it was for a moment in time, it was. But what I'm going to prove to you, and what has been proven in this scientific study, that has now proven that human consciousness is not just localized in the brain, is that the energy, let's say, for example, that the brain did that certain anatomical chemical components and electromagnetic brain waves formed the piece of music that she composed. However, the other truth is, the other scientific fact is that energy, that composition, can also radiate out in the form of waveless energy that connects with a universal interconnectedness in a quantum field that does not require her brain. So, in other words, if she were to die, to pass away before she reduced the composition to writing, another person, if they were operating at a very high vibrational frequency, could pick that up. Okay, if they were meditating, they could pick up that song. And that is why, that's really what it means. A telepathy or telepathic communication is when two people are honing in on that idea or that thought, that composition. And that's exactly what happens when you tell me that you're feeling somebody coming in. What's happening is you are picking up on the energy of that other person that permeates out from their chemical compositional thoughts. It's permeating out into a waveless form of energy, okay, which actually exists, which is what I'm going to prove to you now in a moment. All right, so let's continue. So this represents something that you can see. Let's just say it's a rock. You can see this, yeah. And this represents energy that you cannot see, okay? This is what's called a probability amplitude. It's energy that it has not blinked into physical form, but it does exist. Now, physicists can detect this through what are called particle accelerators. So this is not new science. This is very old science. This is very, very commonly accepted, okay? And so this is what forms the basic, one of the basic principles of our universe is that an atom or light can exist either as a particle form, so it's matter, or a wave form, in other words, potential matter, a probability amplitude. It's called the duality of an atom or light. Now, so that is very, very basic, old, commonly accepted physics. That's not new at all. Nobody would argue with that. If you tried to argue against that, you would be one of the people that thinks the world is flat. Okay? Now let's continue. So anything, by the way, here in this form is called in the quantum field. Anything that's over here is called the electrical field, or it's the everything that operates lower than the speed of light, basically. So in the example that I gave you of where, with the woman, who composed the piece of music, where was it before she wrote it down on a piece of paper, on a musical score? Where was that composition? For those of you who believe that it was in her brain, in her head, in the form of interconnectedness, electromagnetic chemical components of her brain, yes, there are I would say about 50% of physicists still sort of lean toward that. That is called a limited theory, the limited projective wave concept of thought, that thought exists only as particles, that consciousness is only inside our brain. But it is very, very, it's fast becoming in the range of the world is flat physicists, okay, physics. It's a limited theory that basically we're not going to be able to hang on to that much longer, because it is not conforming to what science is telling us. So that is the limited theory of consciousness, that thought is only inside our brain, only exists as particles, It's called the directional pilot wave, or the limited wave concept. It's where you believe that that consciousness is just the anatomical chemical component of the brain. In other words, that it's matter. It's in your brain. But as I say, that is fast becoming comparable to the world is flat. That's how much science is telling us it's just simply not true. Okay, so consciousness, this idea that thoughts, that piece of music that the only location of it was in her brain, it is comparable to the world is flat. Okay, that is not supported by science. All right, so let's continue. So what is the newer theory, or the theory that is accepted by modern physicists and neuroscientists? That brain waves are both particles. In other words, that they exist as electromagnetic brain waves inside the brain, and the anatomical chemical component itself, memories inside the brain. But the modern theory is that yes, that it does exist as that at some point, but there are waves that arise from these particles, from these anatomical, chemical, electromagnetic brainwave activity, and these waves diffuse out into a very complex interconnected wave network. And that we would call, you've heard people referring to the Akashic records, that human consciousness, that there is now scientific proof of that. And in fact, it's going to be the new world is round science. It's very, very likely, according to all the studies that are now being done. So I just want to now just review with you some things that we did on the discussion that was deleted, because a lot of you asked for it, and I deleted it accidentally. I meant to make it private and just have it so that only the people that wanted to see it could click into it, but we're going to leave this one public. So let's talk about these two fields and how do they exist. So you can think of things that you can see, feel, taste, and touch. You can think of these things existing in this realm, in the realm of finite energy. So it's the realm of wavy energy, of low vibrational. It's the field that where energy needs space. Okay, it's in other words, this deck of cards. Okay, this deck of cards is in particle form. So it's energy that is in particle form. Now, when it's in particle form, this needs space. What does that mean? That means that the energy of this deck of cards needs this amount of space, okay? This deck of cards over here needs its own space as well. This cannot exist at the same, well, I suppose you could crush it, but let's just take two rocks. This rock needs its own space, that rock needs its own space. They can't coexist, not in this, not at these vibrations. I'll go in even more extreme. If you were in this room with me now, I think you would agree with me that your body cannot exist you can't walk through my body. So that's what we mean when we say that your energy, in order to exist in particle form, you need your own space, literally. So this is what we call wavy energy. These, if you could think of the speed of vibrations, this is low vibration getting higher, 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 higher. Very low, very high, okay? So it needs space. Energy needs a certain amount of space, so that's why we call it finite. It's an area where, in order for energy to exist in particle form, it requires space. Now, as the vibrations increase, as we go into the realm of high vibrational energy, we call this the quantum field, okay? And remember the little infinity sign above the magician's head? That you can think of as referring to the quantum field, okay? This is the field of high vibrational, and we even say, oh, that person is low vibrational. Well, actually, there's a logic behind that. So we call this the realm of waveless energy, high vibrational waveless energy, infinite energy. It is dissociated from space or time. Energy in this realm does not take up any space, and it does not take up any time. Now, I think it's pretty easy to demonstrate what it means for something to need its own space, but I'm gonna try to explain to you now what it means when energy, this quantum field is dissociated from space, and it is dissociated from time. It doesn't take up any time either. Before I explain to you, and it's really easy to explain this, you've heard of the phrase faster than the speed of light. Well, actually, it's exactly, if you could think of this speed increasing, right? A speed right here is the speed of light. The quantum field is the field that is at the speed of light and higher. Okay. Now I'm going to explain to you what it means when we say that energy would not need, it could be dissociated from time and doesn't need time. Now this is just sort of, how about an example of time not being needed? This is a very rudimentary explanation of it, but it should at least give you a basic understanding of what it means to be dissociated from time or not needing time. Energy that doesn't require time. Guys, my vocabulary is really lacking lately. I cannot remember. When you're in an airport and you're walking in an airport and you hit one of these, it's like a horizontal version of an escalator. So you get on it and it allows you to, if you stand there, it just moves you along. I don't know what those are called, but if some of you do know, maybe you could comment in the section below. But I want you to imagine that you're walking in an airport and you come upon one of these things, except it's going in this direction. So in other words, if you get on it, it's not going to move you forward. But I want you to imagine that example, okay? And let's say that you're in a realm where everything travels at 12 kilometers per hour, okay? Now, let's say that this, whatever it is, horizontal escalator, it's traveling in the wrong direction, okay, at 12 kilometers per hour. Now, how could you still move forward without going backward? Well, you would have to, if you got on it, and say this went at 12 kilometers per hour, if you were able to move, sorry honey, faster than 12 kilometers per hour. So if you jumped on it and ran really, really fast, so you're running faster than the 12 kilometers per hour, it wouldn't matter. You would be able to trump the speed, and if you ran even faster, you'd be able to not just catch up but get ahead. So if you were to say that in this example, time equals 12 kilometers per hour, time becomes unnecessary and irrelevant as long as you're traveling faster than 12 kilometers per hour. Then it becomes irrelevant. You see what I mean? So that's an example of time being irrelevant. So now you know what that means. Now, let me just sort of explain to you what happens with energy when it hits the speed of light. Okay, so this is the speed of light. How does wavy energy become waveless energy? This is the quantum field, okay, in physics. There is a certain intersection, okay, of the vibration that happens that when it hits the speed of light. It's something like this. So if you were in this example here with the horizontal escalator, if you were to imagine that being that escalator right here and right here, when energy, so here it is, imagine that this energy, but it's not traveling. This thing is going 12 kilometers per hour, and this energy is less than 12 kilometers per hour. So as you can imagine, it's this really is, it's not making much difference. This energy is not getting ahead at all. In fact, it's going backwards. You can think of this as aging. Okay, so time becomes relevant because this energy is literally this escalator. Okay, this energy is not catching up to the escalator. Now over here, it is not only is it catching up, but it's skipping. And this is where the wave, this is where this intersection occurs. Okay, so this is faster than the speed of light. That's why we call it the energy waveless. It's light. This is where light operates. Light is an infinite wave. It's waveless. Okay, our senses cannot, anything that operates up here, we are unable to see it, feel it, sense it. Our five senses are not equipped to detect this energy. Our five senses can only perceive energy that operates at these vibrations in wavy form. Now, let's continue. All right, so I'm going to now demonstrate to you where the energy of thought exists, all right? Now, I'd like you, just as an example right now, so my cat was outside the door just then crying, meowing and crying. I want you for a moment, just for about 30 seconds, to solve this problem, come up with a plan in your head. So what would you do if you were me right here? The cat is crying, it's meowing, there's something wrong. Now out there's, pretty much every kind of food, toys, everything. I want you, so the cat is crying, we don't know what's wrong. I want you just for the next 30 seconds to make a plan in your head only about how you would how you could resolve the issue of the cat crying. Okay, go ahead, start now. Okay, so I'm sure that you were able to come up with something, like for example, I'll go out and I'll get some food. I'll offer the cat some food, see if the cat is hungry, maybe it needs a few cuddles, whatever. I'm sure some of you came up with more creative, but that's a plan, all right? Now, you have come up with a plan. So that plan that you have, that's a creative idea. Where does that plan exist right now? Where does it exist? So you could say, well, it's in your head, right? It's in your thoughts. But so in this realm up here, what this study says is that plan that you have, it's not just localized, okay, as part of the gray matter in your brain, the anatomical chemical component. It's not just there isn't just an interconnected bunch of neurons and it's not just in physical form. Right now, it is also radiating out your plan, diffusing out in the form of waveless energy that is not localized in the brain, all right? And the study, in other words, the plan that you've come up with, if somebody that you knew really well, who operated at a very high vibrational frequency, were to close their eyes and meditate and think about you, they would probably be able to, and especially, and this is where tarot comes in, especially for some, and don't ask me how this works because I do not know. I just know that it does. So I am going to try to pick up. Now obviously, you guys, I'm making this tape right now, okay? So, but again, it's supposed to operate irrespective of time. So I'm going to try to read. Some of you thought that the cat needed to be let out, and I'll show you why. Some of you were thinking that the cat felt restricted, okay, and wanted to get out. Maybe you thought that I should come out of this room. I should open the door, okay? So that was one. Some of you thought that. Show me what else you were thinking. Yes, to open the door to let the cat out into the world. Just a moment now. Show me what some of you were thinking. You could solve the problem. Possibly, just a moment now. The cat may have been... Yeah, I just think that many of you thought that the cat felt confined and couldn't see me. In here that I needed to cuddle the cat, put the cat in my lap. The cat wanted to know what I was doing. Cat was impatient, felt held up. That I was controlling the cat. Good Lord. Perhaps some of you, just a moment. That's interesting. I'm getting the High Priestess, which tells me that some of you may be thinking that the cat just wanted to see. Some of you wanted to see the cat. Maybe some of you thought the cat may be hungry. The cat wanted to be let in the door, perhaps. The cat, that the cat should be let in the room. It should let me be beyond the pillars. I've got the Hierophant here. Could be discipline. I'm not sure what that is. Interesting. Anyway, so you get the idea. I don't know why, but for some reason the car. There's the cat again. It's so cute. Just a minute. I'm going to pause the tape for a moment and see what's actually wrong. So anyway, I'm now going to skip to how this all factors into the way that you ask your question and why the reference points work. Let's say that your girlfriend Mary, okay, that last Wednesday night, she said to you, look, I'm going out. I'm just going grocery shopping. I'll be back. But you suspected that she had done something else. So that is the first reference point. There's Wednesday night, Mary telling you that she's going grocery shopping. Now, the first thing I'll ask you, if your question is where did she really go, the first thing you need to do is to have a memory of your own, okay, of something significant that stood out to you about that night. Maybe it was a look on her face, or maybe you have a memory of how she looked when she came back. Maybe when she came back, she was disheveled, okay? So whatever stands out to you, you're gonna hold that image in your head, the disheveled look. So the next thing I'll ask for you is in your own mind, give me a reference point prior to that point. So, and notice how you have to pick the thing, because what will happen is you'll remember something. It may seem unrelated to this. Let's say that she cracked a joke over here 2 nights before. She cracked a strange joke. Okay, so that stands out in your mind. That's another reference point. As long as it stands out in your mind, that's useful to me. And then I'll ask for one more reference point after that, something that happened after the event. Okay, up here, let's say that you noticed that her iPhone screen was broken. Okay, and that's something you had that stood out in your mind. iPhone screen broken. Okay. Now let me explain to you how when I get you to concentrate on these things, how it will break into the actual truth of what happened here. First of all, Mary, what the information that you want is what happened to Mary on Wednesday night and what she did. Mary has memories and thoughts of what she did and saw on Wednesday night. That's what we want to break into. So in order to do that, we need to know Mary. So that's why I always say to you, think of what they look like. Think of their anatomical facial features. That is because what we're doing, we're actually tapping into a library, the library of the interconnectedness, where all thoughts, memories, all exist, not just in her brain, but from the energy that projects out from her brain up here into this waveless form, the interconnected human consciousness. It's there, okay? But in order to get to it, I need to know the reference point from whence it came. That's why you need to remember what Mary looks like, okay? So we can get the waves that were projected out from her. Those are the memories that we want. Back here, okay, what you're doing here is you're giving me, let's say this is the strange joke that she cracked over here. Okay, now there's a reason why this stood out in your mind. I don't know it, but your intuition, the reason why you picked this, you may not even know it, but it is connected somehow to this. Okay, so you're going to have the memory of that strange joke. So what we're going to do is we are also going to get another copy of the record from what she was thinking and feeling. Okay, this is the information that we don't have, because from those thoughts that she formed, energy projected out into the human consciousness. And then up here, this is another reference point. Her iPhone screen was broken. Again, I am going to get her thoughts and feelings on the iPhone screen. When I tap into these three things, it's going to give me some relevant information as to what happened on this night. So that's all I can tell you. I cannot tell you exactly how the cards, how it comes out in the cards. I just don't know. That part of it is a mystery to me. But what I do know is that what I'm doing is tapping in. I know what I'm tapping into is something that does exist, and it's accurate. It's her version in her head. You know, it's her energy. So it may not be what you think, and it may not be the moral or correct thing. It may not conform to reality, but it's what she was thinking and feeling. It's the energy that emanated out from in her brain and from what she saw, felt, spoke, those anatomical chemical components of her actions and thoughts and what she saw emanated out in the form of energy, into waveless energy, into an interconnectedness into the human consciousness. It's like a library, the Akashic records that can be tapped into. And that is where the information from the tarot card reading comes from. Now I'm going to leave that with you, and I hope you enjoyed it. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye.